The key to success on the field and in your backyard is a comprehensive game plan. So if you're building a fence or a deck this year, trust a Turkstra coach to design, quote, or order the right materials for your project. Visit a Turkstra Lumber near you to learn more.
From the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. We are week 13 in the CFL season. Ticats coming off a loss in Toronto at BMO this past Friday night. And now we are on to the prep for the Labor Day Classic this coming Monday. Coach, it's great to see you, man. What tough early days after a loss. Sometimes I felt like it was the hardest to go from a loss into a long week where you really don't get back to work for a few days.
Yeah, appreciate it. Great to see you, Luke. Losing is tough, period. It's no fun, but going into a longer week, I think the guys' bodies really needed some rest, to be honest with you.
Yeah. What stands out to you about Argonaut play from last week? You know, like what do you have to stop that they're doing well in this upcoming Labor Day game?
Well, I think they got a couple explosions, but I think, I always give the other team full credit. When they have more points than you do, you credit the other football team for the win. But I really feel like, Luke, we gave them quite a bit of stuff in the game. So, I don't want to ever take credit away from the opponent and, the hard work and stuff they put in. But as you know, the focus always remains on ourselves. And I just feel like it was one of those seesaw battles, and we were doing just fine containing what they were doing. And I just think they got a little bit of momentum there, when we lined up for an extra point and had an unfortunate turnover there. I thought the timing of that was crucial in the game.
Yeah. Is there one thing that stands out in your mind of your own team's play? You referenced just kind of beating yourselves. Is there one thing standing out above the rest as far as mistakes that was the most damaging?
That's it. It's really that simple. And to sound simplistic, but I mean, you played the game a long time, Luke. Those are hard to overcome. And I think if you said, well, if you match takeaway for takeaway, that's the one area you could do. You could always offset it in that way. You could block a punt. You could get your own pick six. But those things, you just look at the numbers on that, and that just doesn't happen often. We always win and lose as a team, and we're gonna always stay together, and we're gonna work hard. And I think that's what I'm most proud of. If you looked at our field goal block team after that pick six, you're gonna find out what the Hamilton Tiger Cats and how they're built from the inside out. There's no quit.
That was Jared Glanville always said, if you want to tell the heart of a football team, you look at the field goal block unit and see if those guys are working, because that is sort of that's the last of the special teams units as far as time in meetings, as far as time on the field. It's sort of sometimes the one that gets overlooked. But if guys are working out there, some of the best coaches have said that's the real guts of a football team.
Yeah, and I think it does matter, because I also believe, along with all the points that you noted there, it's the easiest one to take off and nobody will notice. And, you can just kind of say, well, this is a gimme. And, that's, I'm proud of those type of things with our ball club.
Yeah. Let's imagine, and like you said, football games don't happen this way. Let's say you come out of that game with an even turnover ratio. I mean, is your team sitting there with the lead in the fourth quarter poised to win? Like, is it that simple? I mean,
I don't have a crystal ball, but I know that we're not sitting in a position that we were in. And so I would definitely say that we would be in a different situation. But that's not the way it was. It's not the way that it played out. And, at the end of the day, if you turn on the tape and, we're losing, by 20, 30 points and, those type of things, and guys are laying down and there's no fight, I think that's when you have challenges. And you're going to be hard pressed. You're going to have to find me clips of that.
Coach, as you can imagine, we're getting, we get questions specific to the quarterback every week, whether it's good or bad, but you're early in the week of prep going into Labor Day. What can you tell us right now about the future of the quarterback room for your team?
Well, first of all, we got to check the health status. of that, and we'll see how that works out. Um, and then from there, we have decisions. If everybody's healthy, then we'll have decisions to make, and we have not made those. And that's one of the advantages that you're afforded on, like an 8-day
Mhm.
prep type of deal, where you can actually let everybody have a day and get out of the building, and you never turn it off in your mind, but you don't have to be focused on your computer the whole time. So, we've been meeting, consistently, and we'll come up with a great plan, and we'll go out there on Labor Day and handle our business.
All right, Coach, let's handle a fan question here for the week. Fans, remember, you
All
can
right.
send a question to gameday@ticats.ca, and we may pick yours on next week's show. All right, this question is from Marlene in Burlington. Hi, Coach O. We've been having a debate in our house and can hope you can answer this question. At times, the TV shows you pulling out a piece of paper and writing on it after a play or after a referee's call. We're curious to know why and what you're writing on that paper. Excited for Labor Day. Go Ticats. Arlene in Burlington.
Wouldn't you like to know, Arlene? That's a great question. What I write on that paper is for me. No. So basically, it changes from week to week. Like, I have game reminders on there. Sometimes I'm writing down a penalty and at what time it happened. Sometimes I'm noting maybe a DB's play, maybe a leverage, a play that we had rehearsed in practice that maybe we're going to reference. After, sometimes if, when we win the challenge, then obviously I know we get to keep our timeout. And so I'm just circling things there. And, basically it's just notes from the game, things that I'm seeing, things that I'm observing. Maybe occasionally I'll write down the referee's number and to make sure and make sure that I can address them a little bit later in the appropriate manner. But that's what it is. It's just something that I've done. As a defensive coordinator and as a defensive back coach, you always had papers, especially when I was in the booth, where you were able to spread out and look at your notes. And my job basically on game day is to manage the football team and time management, game management, those type of things. And so those are just reminders for me. And then obviously I'm taking minute to minute notes.
That's great. Good question, Arlene. I'm guessing you're not the only person who has seen that on TV and wondered what that is all about. I've started. I take notes on my game day sheets in the broadcast for the post game show, because you get to the fourth quarter and sometimes I'm like, man, I don't really remember the early minutes of this game. So
Right.
yeah, it's very helpful. The fans, be sure to email your questions for Coach to gameday@ticats.ca, and each week we'll pick one question and it might be yours next week. Coach, we also received a handful of inquiries this week about the run game, believe it or not. This one was from Jeff Graham, a lifetime fan of the Ticats, and Jeff asked specifically about Sean Thomas Erlington, asking if you could shed light on the combination of Ticat running backs, the use of Don Jackson and STE. What goes into deciding which of these players gets the ball, and can fans expect to see more of this combination?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think when it comes to the run game, it really just depends on the types of backs that you had. So if since you're a lifetime Ticat fan, you would remember the likes of maybe Ron Williams. And, Ron Williams was part of the last Grey Cup team, and he was a bigger back that could shoulder 15, 20 carries. And then you might remember C.J. Gable. And C.J. Gable was a back that you needed to kind of let get warmed up a little bit, and he'd start leaning on you, and he could handle between 15 and 24 carries, somewhere in that neighborhood. When you have a back like Don Jackson who can get you 25 if you close your eyes quick, he's super quick. He's a smaller back, and so I do think that having a two-person attack is imperative. Plus, Sean Thomas Erlington is extremely capable back. We actually, we changed the ratio 1 year because of him. And kind of the depth we had at the Canadian running back when we had the likes of Malik Irons and also Jackson Bennett. So what goes into it, they both have different skill sets. I'd say Sean Thomas Erlington has a little bit more receiving skills in there. However, Don does a great job of catching the ball. It's just a different skill set. And I think I'd say Don's a little bit more elusive while Erlington's a little more fall forward. More of a decisive cutback runner. As far as what goes into it, they both know they're going to play, And at this point in the season, they kind of know the majority of the time what plays they're going to be running. So, and also sometimes it doesn't work out that way. You got to feed the hot hand.
Sure. Yeah. Game time decision, in-game decisions. Yeah, that's very interesting. Don Jackson, we've seen a few times, I feel like have some really impressive patience in his runs in a few games, waiting for blocks to develop, even downfield, sort of getting behind downfield linemen. And then I've always said Sean Thomas Erlington, like you said, Coach, he's a fall forward guy. You think he's going to get tackled, and then there's 3 more yards somehow that come out of really nothing. So two great tools to have in the offensive kit. Coach, the Labor Day Classic is coming up here. The timing, the end of the 4 games in 5 with Toronto, always the timing of being in the middle of the season. Are you happy that the Labor Day Classic is your next game? I guess some would argue, maybe the Ticats didn't play their best game, and do you want to go into that Labor Day after this loss against Toronto? Or you could argue maybe it's perfect timing for a big game and a way to jumpstart the rest of the season.
Well, from the sports entertainment value, you're always looking forward to the Labor Day Classic game. This is one that you always have circled, and if you don't have it circled, you're always aware of the timing of it. Anyways, as a coach and as a player, Luke, you know that it is the next game. It really is, and the fun part about it is just the historic, the tradition, all those type of things about it, and you enjoy that, you embrace those type of things, and so the timing is perfect, and I mean that with all sincerity, because it's our next game, and it's against Toronto, and everybody gets excited about it before all the kids and everybody go back to school, and it's just it's the Labor Day Classic, and they don't call it a classic for no reason. So the timing is just fine. It's never moved on the schedule. We knew where it was at, and whether we were 8-3 or 3-8, the timing would be great.
Coach, there's a phrase that I have always bought into as a player, and it seems true to me still, being in an analyst and color commentating role, and that is, and I give this to Joe Montana, but I don't know if Joe Montana originated this, but that's where I first came in contact with it, and that is the classic saying, "What it takes to win is simple but not easy," and in my mind, that pushes the onus onto execution. Like, we all know what we need to do. It's true in life too. Like, we know the right thing to do. It's just, it's definable. It's just not easy to do that all the time. And in football is the same. And so, when you're talking about losing a game, is it a failure to execute always? Or is it harder to define sometimes? Is that phrase maybe not true when you're thinking back to a game like this past Friday, where it's a floating group of variables as to why a win didn't come your way?
Yeah, that's a great question, Luke. And I would say that answer is always going to vary a little bit. And specifically, I mean that anytime something doesn't go, the way that I envisioned it, whether I was a player or not, the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at myself. Was I prepared enough for the situation? And what can I do different? And football is such a team sport, but it's a bunch of individuals making up that team. So, I think the first of all, you've heard me say this many times, that the perfect game has never been played and the perfect game has never been coached. So you can strive for it, but it's not going to happen. None of us ever got a grade sheet back at a football game and it was 100%. And that's the same for coaching. And so within that, you've heard me say this many times, or equally as many times, that it is a game of mistakes. Let's be the team that makes the least amount, and let's not make them repeated. Now, sometimes the challenge with that, Luke, is that you have injuries. And so, just use, player X jumps offside on offense, defense, or special teams. And then you plug somebody else in there and they jump offside. Well, it's the same penalty, but it's a different person. And, maybe it's a drop here or there, whether it's an interception or a reception. Maybe it's a missed throw. And it's just, you're not going to have a quarterback that goes 40 for 40. You're not going to have a running back that gains positive yards on every play. And so it does come down to execution, because that's really what wins. Plays don't win, players win. And, some calls are better than other calls, but not every call is a great call. And some things that look like great calls are because players make great plays. And that's the game of football. If, I can remember, and I always use your references. And the cool thing is I'm not making it up, but, I always respected your game. And I'll never forget the go-ahead touchdown, over-the-shoulder catch, East Final in Ottawa. He just made an unbelievable catch, and there was a penalty on the play. Well, that's going to go down as a 50-something yard touchdown reception from Mazzoli and Tommy Condell with an amazing play call, but it was a Luke Tasker catch. And that's the truth. That's really the truth. And the players that make those plays, Stephen Dunbar on that highlight reel catch, sure, you had to give him a ball as a quarterback, and you have to call the play in order for him to throw it. But without the catch, we're not talking about it. And so that's my long-winded answer, but to give you some framework of why I do think it does come down to execution.
I love it. That game was by far my favorite football game ever that we did not end up winning. It was one of the best games I was ever part of that we lost. And that was actually not my best play in the game. My best play in that game was throwing a 40-yard pass to Andy Fantuz early on. That forever is my favorite football play.
That's awesome.
Okay, Coach, it's the Labor Day Classic weekend. Is your family coming? What are you looking forward to the absolute most of this storied game?
I just like the timing, the start. A little bit sooner.
Yeah, I love it.
Bit sooner. You don't have to wait. It's really that.
Is there time to clean the car for a 1 p.m. Labor Day game or no?
There's always time for the car clean, Nuke. There's always time.
That is good. I know I need to do that. It's been too many game days since I've cleaned my car. Coach, I appreciate your time. The Coach O Show with Luke Tasker is presented by Turkstra Lumber. Check out the project coaches at Turkstra Lumber. They can help with any part of your home reno, from designing your deck to ordering a new front door. Learn more at TurkstraLumber.com. Also, send your fanned questions for Coach on next week's Coach O Show with Luke Tasker. Send those to gameday@ticats.ca. Coach, looking forward to it. The Labor Day Classic. My family's coming up. RJ and I will be in the booth calling the game, and we can't wait to kick off.
Hey, we're looking forward to it just as much. And tell the family and RJ hello.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks, Luke.
Monday, Tim Hortons Field. WeatherTech is pleased to present Tim Hicks. This year's Labor Day Classic will feature a special halftime concert performance featuring award-winning country artist Tim Hicks. Presented by WeatherTech, Tim Hicks. Halftime on Labor Day in the Hammer.